I'm Nick Westergaard, and this is On Brand, helping you tell your story. My guest this week is Emmanuel Probst.
Brands can no longer just sell products. Brands must also make a positive impact and, in fact, must also transform people and the world we live in. So you have to go well beyond functional and emotional benefits. Those are table stakes. Beyond that, the product needs to make a positive impact on me. The product must also make a positive impact on the world around us.
Emmanuel Probst is Global Lead Brand Thought Leadership at Ipsos, adjunct professor at the University of California at Los Angeles, and the author of the Wall Street Journal and USA Today bestseller, Brand Hacks. He supports numerous Fortune 100 companies by providing them with a full understanding of their customers' journey. Emmanuel holds an MBA in marketing from the University of Hull, United Kingdom, and a doctorate in consumer psychology from the University of Nottingham Trent, also in the United Kingdom. His new book is Assemblage, the art and science of brand transformation, and he's my guest this week on the On Brand podcast. My interview with Emmanuel is coming right up, but first...
Hey, it's Jason with the Marketing Podcast Network. You have less than 1 month left to get special early bird pricing for the Creator Economy Expo 2023. This event, folks, is for content creators and entrepreneurs interested in building and growing their content-first businesses. Do not miss this show. Join over 500 bloggers, podcasters, authors, newsletter writers, speakers, consultants, and freelancers at the learning and networking event for content creators. Plan to attend May 1st through the 3rd in Cleveland, Ohio. Register now to secure early bird pricing before it disappears March 31st. Early bird pricing ends March 31st. As a special offer, you can get $100 off just for listening to MPN shows like this one. Go to cex.events to register. Use the coupon code MPN100. The address, the URL, cex.events. That's the whole thing. Type that into your browser. cex.events. The code you use, MPN100. The Creator Economy Expo, Cleveland, May 1st through the 3rd. See you there.
As a business-to-business marketer, your needs are unique. B2B buying cycles are long and your customers face incredibly complex decisions. Isn't it time you had a marketing platform built specifically for you? LinkedIn ads empower marketers with solutions for you and your customers. LinkedIn ads allow you to build the right relationships, drive results, and reach your customers in a respectful manner. On LinkedIn, you'll have access to and build relationships with decision makers. Of the 875 million users on the network, 180 million are senior level executives, 10 million are C-level executives. You'll also be able to drive results with targeting and measurement tools built specifically for B2B. And they work. Audiences exposed to brand messages on LinkedIn are 6 times more likely to convert. LinkedIn ads is also ranked number 1 for security, community, and ad experience as part of Business Insider's Digital Trust Study. Make B2B marketing everything it can be and get a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MPN to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/MPN. Terms and conditions apply. Emmanuel Probst, welcome to On Brand.
Nick, thank you so much for having me on the show.
You know, I always love chatting with you because you're always working on something new, something exciting, especially in the world of consumer behavior, which I would say probably right up there with supply chain is one of the things that has changed dramatically over the past couple of years. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and the last couple of years have been interesting for so many reasons. One, there is technology, of course, and 2, there is COVID. And what has changed and what hasn't changed over the last 3 years is very interesting to study and to learn from.
Interesting. Did you say what hasn't changed or what
Yeah,
has? Yeah.
both.
Okay. So yeah, I think we focus so much on the change. What goes in the hasn't changed category?
Yeah, what hasn't changed is we as humans crave in-person interactions. And while we're thankful for the great technology that allows us to meet remotely and stay in touch with our community through our smartphones and messaging apps, well, that's all great. But at the end of the day, we want to see people and we want to socialize with people. And no matter the bandwidth and the great 4K cameras and the Zoom apps and what have you, at the end of the day, nothing replaces a true human interaction. And this applies to consumerism and to commerce as well. How many times did we read articles over the last 10 years saying retail is dead, everything's going online? We've heard that how many times? Well, the fact is that brick and mortar retail right now is actually growing faster than e-commerce. And that's because people want an experience. People want to discover something new. People want to touch. People want to smell as well. All those things that you cannot do online. If you shop on Amazon, as a vast majority of us do, of course, it's very convenient. The pricing is excellent. The supply chain is outstanding. The shopping experience, though, is, from an emotional standpoint, is most of the time not fulfilling. So all this to say that what hasn't changed is we are seeking a sense of belonging and a genuine interaction with people that cannot be conveyed online.
That's so interesting. I love anything that we hear all the time, I always raise an eyebrow at on how true it is. And I love that point about retail is dead. And I think, I feel like it's a different D word, not dead. Retail isn't dead, to your point, and the data backs that up. But retail is different. I also don't think you can continue with the same experience in retail, given what consumers are now craving more than ever, with those needs to try things on, to touch them, and so forth.
And to your point, Nick, I think retail has to be either very high touch, very personal service, or it has to be a discovery. It has to be something unique. So what cannot continue is trying to compete with Amazon. Why? Because if you go to Macy's or if you go to Target and you want to shop for swim trunks, well, at Macy's or Target, they probably have 30, 40, 50 different types of swim trunks, if that. And on Amazon, you'll find 2,000 or 3,000. Yeah. So the point is not the assortment, and is hardly ever the price. The point is going to be about the discovery. It's going to be about the guidance, the service. It's going to be about companion items, building the basket. And it's going to be about a unique product often, and a link to the community, something that is produced locally, maybe something that has a story behind it.
That's so interesting too, and I think that we inadvertently end up doing exactly what you just advised us not to, of thinking that we need to compete with Amazon. We're not going to win that, but what we can do is something that is uniquely us in discovery, in service. What else does the changing consumer mean for brands looking to stand out today?
Well, I think as a brand, you have to deliver a seamless experience in terms of, I'm talking from a supply chain standpoint, if you will. So that's where Amazon and e-commerce in general has changed the rules of the game for everyone, whereby you must deliver fast and seamlessly. You must have a very lenient return refund policy. And there's no way to escape this. Also, I think what e-commerce has brought to us, and in particular DTC brands, that is direct-to-consumer brands, is a sense of personalization, a sense of the brand knows who I am and what I need in the moment. What I mean by this is 10, 15 years ago, this personal service was the exclusivity of Rolls-Royce and the Ritz-Carlton, whereby you will check in at the Ritz and they will know that you like overnight oats for breakfast. Now, technology enables brands to do this at scale, whereby when you shop from Dollar Shave Club or any other DTC platforms, they will know about your shaving habits and your skin type and your sleeping habits and so on and so forth. So what was once the exclusivity of luxury brands, that is this very personal, high-touch, unique service, must be scaled all the way down to your razor blades today.
Yeah, I was just thinking. You said that about the Rolls Royces of the world, and yet you can personalize an Oreo cookie. So, just it's there's a lot more, many more brands playing in that space of personalization and personal service. So
Indeed.
talk a bit about, a book is always a big undertaking. So what led you to Assemblage?
Yeah, thank you, Nick. A book is an exciting adventure. It is a big undertaking. It is also very fulfilling. The book is called Assemblage, the Art and Science of Brand Transformation. And the point of this book is to say brands can no longer just sell products. Brands must also make a positive impact and, in fact, must also transform people and the world we live in. So you have to go well beyond functional and emotional benefits. Those are table stakes. This is exactly what we covered a minute ago, right? The product must do what it is supposed to do at a good price, being delivered seamlessly, lenient return policy. That's great, but that's table stakes. Beyond that, the product needs to make a positive impact on me. And what I mean by me is my personal identity project. That is, who am I and who do I want to become? And the product must also make a positive impact on the world around us. The brand and its products must contribute to economic recovery, must contribute to sustainability, must truly demonstrate a purpose, not just claim, but importantly demonstrate a purpose, and engage in responsible consumerism, and so on and so forth. That's the point of this book. And this book shows you how to scale brands and how to create brands that transform people and the world they live in, so that as a brand, you develop a stronger, more meaningful, more sustainable relationship with your audience.
On Brand, we'll be right back after this. As a business-to-business marketer, your needs are unique. B2B buying cycles are long and your customers face incredibly complex decisions. Isn't it time you had a marketing platform built specifically for you? LinkedIn ads empower marketers with solutions for you and your customers. LinkedIn ads allow you to build the right relationships, drive results, and reach your customers in a respectful manner. On LinkedIn, you'll have access to and build relationships with decision makers. Of the 875 million users on the network, 180 million are senior level executives, 10 million are C-level executives. You'll also be able to drive results with targeting and measurement tools built specifically for B2B. And they work. Audiences exposed to brand messages on LinkedIn are 6 times more likely to convert. LinkedIn Ads is also ranked number 1 for security, community, and ad experience as part of Business Insider's Digital Trust Study. Make B2B marketing everything it can be and get a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MPN to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/MPN. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey there, it's Jason Falls. If your company or maybe one of your clients sells to marketers, you look for advertising channels that guarantee business marketers are paying attention, right? Let me introduce you to the Marketing Podcast Network. You're listening to it right now. It's a network of podcasts all about marketing. So 100% of MPN's audience are marketers. Reach them by advertising on the Marketing Podcast Network. Learn more and find our media kit at marketingpodcasts.net.
Now, back to the show.
That is fascinating to think about the impact that we as brands need to have. But it's also a kind of a challenging assignment. Where do you start with, okay, we need to have a positive impact? How do we even know what that should look like for our brand and our customers?
Yeah, well, first, I think you don't try to do everything. You don't try to be everything for everyone. You want to be selective about what your brand is, what it stands for today, how you can evolve and position its meaning, what's realistic to achieve and what not. So let me give you some extreme examples. If you are an airport and you claim that you're going to become carbon neutral by 2030, first off, that is a goal that's not attainable, and people will not take you seriously. And this is a true example. I've seen an airport in Europe not so long ago that advertises carbon neutrality by 2030. So those goals are not realistic, not relatable, not authentic and genuine. However, if you're Dove, which is a Unilever brand, and you want to engage as Dove does in promoting real beauty, that is, to tell the world photoshopped pictures on Instagram are not real life. Let's celebrate real beauty and show people really the way they are, regardless of their skin type and skin conditions and ethnic background and body shapes. Well, now you have something to claim and something to demonstrate that is of value to your audience, that will resonate and that aligns with your product, that is personal care and beauty care. So just give 2 extreme examples, but the first task is to close the laptop, stop Googling things, stop, literally stop surfing.
I laugh because it's the first step. I need to figure out how to do something. I better Google it.
Precisely. Well, do something very low tech. Invest about $12 in a bunch of Post-its and flashcards and a good Sharpie, and write down some keywords and some ideas, as many as you can, as many as you'd like. Ideate first, and then you're going to assemble those different ideas into a territory your brand can own or can claim ownership of.
Sticky notes and Sharpies. Now you're speaking my love language, and also I you backed into the title of the book so seamlessly. I honestly didn't know exactly where it came from, but when you are talking about assembling this and the work that's needed, that verb, that idea really makes a lot of sense in terms of the work that we're doing. And as your subtitle notes, to just go, not to go word by word through your title and subtitle, but it is an art and a science. And I feel like we're very comfortable on the science part of it. Again, we're going to go Google all of the things, but the art side of that speaks to the ideation that we need to spend a little bit more time on, so that we're closer to the Dove extreme than than the carbon neutral airport tilting at windmills.
Precisely. And well, moving on swiftly to the title of the book, Assemblage, is inspired from winemaking. So let me explain. When you create a wine or a cognac or a brandy or a whiskey or a bourbon, for example, you do
Okay,
so.
there we go. Now
Yeah.
you've got me.
Now we are recording in the morning. It's only 8:16 a.m. in Los Angeles. So it's always a good time to talk about bourbon, isn't it? And
Exactly.
all this to say that the master blender creates that product by assembling, that is, by combining samples from a wide range of barrels and aging processes and grapes and methods. And you may combine sometimes 100, sometimes 130 different brandies so that you create that unique flavor and that distinctive flavor for your brand of bourbon, of cognac, of wine, of whiskey, of champagne, what have you. And that's the metaphor. It's to say that we can create brands, and we should create brands just the way we create a nice bourbon or a great champagne, by assembling from a wide range of samples. And we do so by assembling personal, social, and cultural attributes to create those brands.
That's fascinating. I feel like 400 and some episodes in, we've touched on a lot of different metaphors for the work of brand building, but this one has never come up, and I'm fascinated by it because I think it so precisely illustrates the balance of art and science that again, with the flavor profile building of any of the spirits that you just described, there are the scientific aspects of the various ingredients that you provide, but it also speaks to the art of what it does on the palate also. So I love the idea of the brand builder as a master blender.
Yeah, that's really an inspiration. I think what I like to do in my writing, that's really what this book is about, is of course we can learn from great brands and great brand strategists. I love that. And it is just as relevant, and frankly sometimes more inspirational, to learn from music artists and to learn from artists like Picasso and Jeff Koons, and to learn from chefs, and to learn from the likes of Martha Stewart's media personalities. Those are, I call them in the book, the assemblers. There is so much we can learn from those folks into how to create and build a brand. Not to mention that, in my opinion, it makes for a very entertaining read. What I mean by this is, sure, we can look at Steve Jobs and Jeff Bezos, but you don't really need me to write yet another book on Steve Jobs and Jeff Bezos. And I don't mean to take anything away from those folks. I'm just saying it's a more, I believe, refreshing and entertaining perspective to look at DJ Khaled and Pharrell Williams and Snoop Dogg and Lady Gaga and David Guetta, and understand how to build brands their way.
It also seems like that those examples that you cited pull in the cultural aspect of brand building, which I also feel like is easy to miss because it's hard to nail down. Or maybe we don't miss it, we just don't want to think about work on it because it's not an easy thing to Google and quickly get an answer for. But understanding the way your brand fits in with the cultural fabric. I love the idea of someone with a Martha Stewart or Snoop Dogg or Lady Gaga aesthetic, looking at that skill set versus kind of some of the greatest hits that we usually draw from. Again, nothing against them, but I feel like our work is a little bit more diverse as brand builders.
And by the same token, I like looking at large brands because they inspire us. It's also just as relevant, if not more relevant, to look at the small guys. And here's what I mean. Look, it's great to talk about Airbnb and Coke and P&G, and I quoted a Unilever brand earlier. That said, those folks have dozens of millions of dollars to invest in advertising. And the reality is that only 7% of us work for a Fortune 100. 93% of us don't work for a Fortune 100. Realistically, 98% of us in marketing don't have $100 million plus. In fact, it might be 99% of us don't have $100 million plus to spend on marketing. So as such, it's really an inspiration. It's really important to look at what can you do with $2,000? What can you do with $5,000? What can you do with $20? And those brands inspire me just as much, if not more, than the big guys, because they deserve even more so their success just because they work from the ground up, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to, because we're getting close on time, to ask for your brand that's made you smile. I don't want to take that one. So if we need to move that direction, we can. But do you have a go-to example of one of these? And it doesn't have to be. It could either be a small brand or a brand that maybe we haven't heard of that does this, because I do think we bring that baggage of, okay, that's Dove. I'm not going to be able to be like Dove or Nike or the big oft-cited examples.
Yeah, think of a brand like Liquid Death.
Yes,
and so Liquid Death is a drink company that markets canned water, and the tagline, I believe, is "Murder Your Thirst," which is quite funny. And think about it this way: the last thing we need is yet another brand of water. You have plenty on the shelf, and also all those existing bottles, those clear plastic bottles, they are bad for the environment. The point being that to start a new brand of water today, to compete with the marketing dollars of the like of Nestle, is saying that this is an uphill battle will be an understatement. Yet, what this brand is doing is really changing the conversation around water. Well, it's in a can, meaning you can recycle the can. And the name is quirky. The tagline is quirky and provocative. And the brand is really cutting through now. And those creatives are $2,000, $1,500 a piece. So that's how you can take on the big guys with $1,500. A much earlier example that we are now, most of us, if not all of us, are familiar with will be Dollar Shave Club. I mean, everyone knows about Dollar Shave Club now, and you can find the brand at Target and retailers and, of course, online. But let's not forget that the initial ad for the YouTube video for Dollar Shave Club was less than $5,000. And see, those are two examples. One brand is now really mature and has been taken over by a large conglomerate. Another brand is newer. Liquid Death started, 5-6 years ago now. Those are two examples of brands that work with pennies compared to the big guys, are going after massive categories that are beyond saturated, dominated by some of the largest firms in the world, yet are making an impact and are denting the market shares, to put it nicely, the control almost the big firms had on those categories.
That's such a great example, and it made me smile as you brought it up, because it's actually come up just recently on our episode with Rebecca Coleman from Narrative Group. It was the brand that made her smile. And then a couple of years back, David Brickley as well. So that is a great smile-worthy brand. But it is now time, Emmanuel, for me to ask you for a brand that has made you smile recently.
So yeah, thank you, Nick. You asked for one, and if I may, I will give you two. And the first one, because we just mentioned it, that's an easy go-to. It's Liquid Death. I think the tagline, "Murder Your First," is cheeky, quirky, interesting, a little bit provocative, disruptive for sure. And in that regard, it really makes me smile. And the other one is a B2B brand. It's an ad creative. His name is George Tenenbaum. He's very active on LinkedIn and is really a pure traditional copywriter, if you will. And a few minutes before starting recording with you, Nick, George Tenenbaum posted on LinkedIn. The tagline today was "Making AI Irrelevant Since 1957." So it's an ad for his own company. And so he says, George Tenenbaum, a Delaware corporation, whatever the subtitle is. But I thought the tagline was great. "Making AI Irrelevant Since 1957."
I love that. That's great, and a couple of good examples. And I love when B2B can sneak in there too. Emmanuel, where can folks go to learn more about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, thank you, Nick. You can find me on LinkedIn, and my name again is Emmanuel Probst. Emmanuel with two M's, and Probst is spelled P as in Peter, R-O-B as in boy, S-T. And of course, the book is called Assemblage, The Art and Science of Brand Transformation. And you can buy Assemblage on Amazon, or you can also find Assemblage at Barnes & Nobles and the likes.
Awesome. Well, we will link up to that in our show notes, which folks can find at onbrandpodcast.com. Emmanuel, thanks for being on brand with us.
Nick, thank you so much, and thank you to our listeners today. I look forward to connecting with you all.
On Brand is part of the Marketing Podcast Network. If you like what you're hearing, if we've made you smile, you can always listen free on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or whatever your favorite platform may be. And please take a moment and rate and review the podcast to help others find the show. Until next week, I'm Nick Westergaard, and I'll see you on the internet.
This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.